Welcome to Safety Engineering Briefings. Short, practical insights for software and security engineers. Last month, we had an incident. A seemingly minor dependency update. It cascaded. It took down a core service for almost an hour. Root cause? A broken trust boundary. We thought we'd isolated that component. We hadn't. These things happen more often than you think. And it's rarely a simple mistake. It's a fundamental misunderstanding of how trust works in complex systems. Let's talk about trust boundaries. They're not about perfect isolation. That's a myth. They're about managing risk. You define a boundary. You state what you trust and what you don't. Think of it like a contract. I trust this component to provide data in this format and nothing else. But contracts get broken. Why? First, assumptions. We make them constantly. This library is well maintained. This internal service will always return valid data. These are trust assumptions. They're invisible until they fail. Second, evolution. Systems change. Dependencies change. New features get added. Boundaries that once held become porous. Someone adds a new field to a data structure. A new endpoint is exposed. The contract silently changes. Third, human error. A developer bypasses the boundary for convenience. A configuration mistake opens a vulnerability. These aren't malicious acts. They're just mistakes. A common misconception is that boundaries are static. They aren't. They require constant monitoring and validation. Another is thinking a boundary protects you from everything. It doesn't. It protects you from known risks. It reduces the blast radius. It gives you time to react. But it's not a shield. Consider a typical e-commerce platform. You have a front end, an order service, a payment service, and a shipping service. You establish a trust boundary between the order service and the payment service. The order service trusts the payment service to process payments correctly and securely. It sends payment details, order amounts, and customer IDs. What could go wrong? Let's say the payment service gets a new feature, fraud detection. This feature requires access to the customer's shipping address. A developer, wanting to improve fraud detection, modifies the payment service to request the shipping address from the order service. No formal API change, just a new field added to the existing request. The trust boundary is breached. Now, if the fraud detection logic has a vulnerability, and they often do, the attacker can potentially access shipping addresses. This wasn't a direct attack on the order service. It was a consequence of a broken trust boundary. The blast radius is larger than it should be. The incident response is more complex. The root cause isn't a vulnerability in the payment service itself, but the unexpected data flow across the boundary. Trust boundaries are essential for managing risk, but they are inherently fragile. They will break. Focus on minimizing assumptions, actively monitoring boundary interactions, and designing for failure. Ask yourself, what happens when the trust is violated? If this topic was useful, take a moment to reflect on how it applies to your own systems. See you in the next briefing.